guys, and welcome to Nadia On The Run. I'm Nadia Colucci, co-founder of North Compass Realty. I'm a native here in San Diego, and I still love running around like a tourist in my own city, so check out NadiaOnTheRun.com for more fun things to do in San Diego. Today, I'm welcomed by Sim and Fetu, creators of the Be Like You campaign.
Thank you.
This is a local nonprofit organization. Their mission is to prevent bullying and the negative effects it causes on lives by educating and bringing awareness through authentic stories and empowering positive messages. Thank you both
Excited
for
to
being
be here.
I
Thank
know,
you
we're
for having
excited.
us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Course. October.
Our hearts are buzzing.
Yeah. Great, we love it.
Yeah.
Well, and October is Bully
Bully-
Awareness and Prevention Month, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So
yes.
tell us a little bit about how you got into, where your passion came from, and what started you off in the Be Like You campaign.
So I have a good friend, Claire, and we were chatting one day, and I was going through some of the times of when my nieces were being bullied, and I noticed it had elevated, and so it brought me back to a time in my life where I was being bullied. So I randomly asked Claire, have you ever, I said, just out of curiosity, have you ever been bullied? And she said, yes, as a matter of fact, I had to change schools because of it.
Wow.
And that was exactly my
Your
first
experience as
yeah.
well?
And so we started talking more, and once we had chatted a little more, it was kind of like this should not be going on, you know. I mean, and then we were talking about the social media and how it's really imploded from when we were in school being bullied. We could get away from it for the night or when you
go
whatever.
home,
Yes.
you're not consistently, today kids are getting bullied even after they leave
Yes.
campus, and
Yes.
because of social media and those platforms, right?
Right,
The
yes.
cyberbullying.
So
Okay.
once it's out there on social media, it's out there, and so it's running 24/7.
Right.
For us, we kind of had like that time to get away,
Right, a
ride our
break,
bikes,
yes.
what have you. But for me, the bullying had continued to the point of where I hated going to school. I didn't feel safe.
Right.
It wasn't a safe place for me. And so it had escalated. It started in elementary school. Middle school is when it got worse. And then high school, I was even cheerleader, gymnastics, and dance company. So it's very involved with school.
Right.
And then it ended up being football players who ended up being,
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So even through the cheerleading, and like the people who I thought were my friends, and when it was getting so bad to where they were doing things that were really bad, to where my parents were kind of like, what's going on, And I was trying to talk to them, but at that time, bullying really wasn't something that was...
It wasn't as prevalent or talked about, right?
Yes.
Right.
And so, they just kind of were like, you just got to be strong and, keep, going to school. I'm sure everything will calm. And I just said, like, the end of my junior year, I knew I had to change schools.
Wow.
I was just like, and I told my parents, and they were, are you sure? Because this is your senior year.
Yeah.
You've got your friends that, prom and
All
walking.
your events, walking with your friends. Yeah,
Yes.
those are big things to give up, and you must have felt really attacked or under attack.
It was constant. It was like being pushed in the lockers. It was being thrown in the trash. It was the football players would come and do things to my parents' house, or anyone that was associated with me, they would get bullied too, or being discluded from. So it was really bad, and I couldn't take it anymore, and that's why I changed schools my senior year, because I needed to just focus on getting through school and moving on into college.
Right.
So
and leaving that all behind.
Yeah.
I mean, children, that's what we are in those age groups.
Yeah.
It's a huge responsibility to have a social media account. It's a huge responsibility that they have, that their words really make an impact, especially when they're typed out
Yes.
and printed out. Because, I mean, even if you delete it, we all know you can grab a screenshot of it, and it is
Yeah.
there and it follows you forever.
Yeah.
So this does affect and can continue to affect. So it sounds
Yes.
like your personal experiences came back to light when Sim's daughters were being under attack here more
Yes.
recently.
Yes.
Right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
So I have one of my daughters here with me today.
Avalia. Hi.
And it started with, hers was more in elementary school, and then it's progressed as she went into middle school, and then high school is when it escalated. And with all the social media, she has a twin, and her twin knew that stuff was going on. And I didn't know, but as a parent, you kind of think that your children they're telling you everything, right? So in the midst of it all, when it all started to unravel with the school, that her sister had said that it has been going on for over a year before they even told me about it. So it had been going on for that long, and she said, I was trying to handle it on my own. I didn't want to be a tattletale. I wanted to just be able to do this. And when she stuck up for them, because she was face to face with the girl and just asked her to stop because she's had enough, that's when the school was like, no, she can't approach a student like that. And I went in saying I'm proud of her because she stood up for herself. We've taught our kids that. We've taught them to talk to the person face to face. Don't go and start rumors and get a big group involved. And so we went in, we backed her up, and we did everything the school asked us to do with the other student. She got rid of her social media account. She ended up doing the mediation, which it took us 2 weeks to convince her to do that. And then through the mediation, I was a little disappointed because they didn't have a staff member in the room. It was more of a peer. So I don't feel like that's the way to go about it. Yes, have a peer, but also have a staff member because it wasn't handled. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
General,
It wasn't handled
Right.
to where it needed to be. Like it needed to be nipped in the butt right then.
Right.
So once that happened, we did everything, and I called the school again because things were still happening. And she said, I know your daughter has done everything we've asked her to do, and I commend her for that. I commend her for coming in and talking to us. But what happened after that was, we believe it was the same student. It got onto a private account that she didn't even know things were happening, where they were reposting photos of her sister, her other friends, and it was just the back and forth of her just saying how there was all these comments made about, you're ugly, you're this or that. So there's a lot of things on there, but at the end of it, it told her to take her life. So when it gets to the point of that, and the school couldn't do anything about it because we took it back to the school, they said because it happened after school hours, their IT guy did look into it, they couldn't figure out who it was, so the next step was going to law enforcement and filing a report.
Good.
So that's where we had to
That's where
go,
you had
and
to go.
they still couldn't figure out who did it because, when you're using public IP addresses like Wi-Fi's in different areas, it's constantly changing.
Right.
So
It's like,
I know.
Sorry, I'm like,
but
I
and
know.
things,
imagine telling, a
there are
child
kids
to
that
go
have
do
done that.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
there are kids who have taken their lives because someone who has posted something like that, or someone they know that they look up to has said that
thought
to
they
them.
were
Right.
a friend. I mean, I know.
Right.
So
we
that's
talked.
that's why when my sister had
yes.
talked about doing this is our why. This is
Yes.
that it's become so large scaled
Right.
because of social media that it needs to be dialed back. It needs to. The law enforcement says how serious this problem is,
Right.
and so we're working closely with our law enforcement about that too.
That's
so.
great. And you guys do a lot to actually help educate. It sounds like even with that mediation situation you gave, it sounds like the schools maybe haven't quite caught up to how to deal with this either. I think we're all as a society trying to
Right.
figure out how do we deal with this because
Right.
it's gotten so elevated.
Yes.
So through Be Like You guys do different outreach programs with youth.
Yes.
Because that is who we're fighting for is
Yes,
our youth.
that's our focus,
Yeah.
is our youth. And, like my sister was sharing, it really, what was that, what ignited Be Like You was what happened with
Yes. Our stories.
yes, with
The
Sim's
effects.
daughter.
The effects
yeah,
of it.
the effects of it, and then the
Trying to create
where
some positive.
it's
Right.
where it's
from
at
it.
now, but then how can we empower our youth?
Yeah.
How can we share with them that being who you are, that's our brand message, is being who you are is enough,
Right.
and that this is a safe place to be like you. There's
Yeah.
only one you,
Yeah.
so there's
And
so much.
Don't be anybody else.
Yeah, embrace that. So
Avalia, how are you doing? Thank you for being here with us today. I know it's like a little intimidating with the cameras, but just ignore those and look at us. And your mom shared a lot about what happened, and thank you for being so brave to, one, stand up to the bullies, but two, to be here with us today and sharing your story. We are taking live questions and comments from our Facebook fans and followers. If anyone wants to, please ask away. I know you guys have a lot of cool things coming up as well, but let me touch with Avalia and see what you took away from that experience, and maybe like some advice you could give to someone who's in a similar situation.
I feel like most of my experience happened with my sister.
Yeah.
So everything that my mom just said, it happened all to my sister. So I feel like with younger kids, they need to be telling someone, whether that's even just their sibling or a friend, because I know from like firsthand, talking to an adult is really intimidating, especially when something bad is happening in your life. So just talking to your siblings, I wish that my sister had told me sooner, because I knew that something was off with her, but I didn't know how much it had really affected her. And hearing just hearing someone tell you to take your own life is something that no one should ever hear.
No.
yeah.
Right.
And I completely honestly forgot that had even been said for a little bit, and then my mom just brought it up, got me a little bit emotional, but and both me and my sister, I feel, are super sensitive to those kinds of things. So
Sure.
I feel like with hearing that, it's a lot to just process.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she eventually told me.
Yes,
But
for sure. And you stood up for her too. You went,
Yeah.
and then you became, bullied and attacked. They just opened it up and continued with you as well. So they were trying to. Sometimes, I think, again, students it's children, they're young, and they have this responsibility. We all do. And Be Like You sounds like just such a great organization to really come out and help. And I'm sorry you had to go through it, but through this negative, experience you had, look at what was born afterwards. This great idea to help other kids in your sister's situation. And if you or someone is being bullied or has a similar story to Avalia and her sister, we have information at the end that we'll give. We'll give phone numbers. Obviously, you can reach out to these two wonderful ladies here, and they are here to help and guide you. But the number one thing that we take away, Avalia, is make sure to tell an adult. And it's okay, right? And we talked about this off air, that if sometimes one adult doesn't do anything, that doesn't mean you stop. There's plenty of teachers and adults out there that really want to help. So sometimes you got to find the right one, right?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and being so brave to be on here. I want to share this because I forgot this was right here, but this is some of your awesome merchandise. And we've got these cute hats, little trucker in the camo, resilient, be like you. I love it. You guys, we're going to do a fun giveaway. So for anybody who wants to enter a chance to win, you can join at NadiaOnTheRun.com, and under Join Us, give us your information. First 5 of you will get some of this swag. So I see that we got some questions, but I can't read them because I'm old. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, we love you, Avalia. How awesome. Amber Marie. Thanks,
Yay.
Amber Marie.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Oh, Anne Marie.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then Amber Marie.
Marie.
And then Amber.
That's awesome.
Amber, yeah.
Love it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. So, we talked about when, we were at the age in high school, they didn't have social media. It was kind of like, a nice day for part of it. But, the internet has done good and bad, right?
Right.
There kind of, at least my question is, we teased. I remember seeing a lot of teasing going around. It seemed playful. And, where's the fine line between teasing and bullying? Because we don't want to stifle, being able to ever joke around and have fun. But where is that fine line? Because I know there is one.
Yeah, so that fine line is that when it's intentional and it's aggressive, and then it continues, so it's done on purpose.
Right.
And then it's not just aggressive physical behavior, but it's also emotional, mental, as well as far as mental well-being. So that's where the fine line is, when it's intentional and it's aggressive, unwanted behavior. So,
Because that has like a lasting,
it
can have a
on your-
lasting negative
yes,
effect mentally on mental health.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
That's what the results and research share, is that people that have been bullied do have, there's usually their mental health and well-being is affected.
Okay.
And there is,
Of course, it would
there's,
be,
yeah,
right?
the
Yeah.
association with suicide also, but they just don't have fine results of that. But there's a feeling of like helplessness, hopelessness, not, and like a lack of support once someone has been bullied.
Right.
And like Sim was sharing and Avalia was sharing, that it wasn't until later, Sim didn't find out until a year later. Right. So imagine during that time the mental well-being effects that has on our youth. Right. So
and they are our future. I
And,
mean,
Yeah.
they're our
and with
future
the social media, it's not like you had mentioned earlier, Nadia, that it's not only something that can be permanent on there, but it gets a larger group involved, and then you have more attacks coming towards
Sure.
you,
Even
and
people
they
that
can't
don't
get
know
it.
you.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
know you,
Yeah.
and so even though someone might delete it, like you said, someone can screenshot it, but even though they've deleted it at some point, it's been out there,
Right.
and it can multiply. It's like a
Right.
virus, you
Yeah.
know. It's just
Yes.
it just explodes and it metastasizes. And
For sure, it sounds like, and then it's like snowball effect.
Right.
And to not feel comfortable, safe, and wanting to go to school, I think that's, I mean, you know, we said, it's not like I love to go to school every
Right.
day, but I mean, that was because I didn't want to take a test. It wasn't because I didn't feel safe or
Yeah.
I felt threatened in any way. And that's just something we really need to continue to work on. And you guys have been great at doing that, bringing up Be Like You, creating it. And I know we have a question about how can I get involved. So if someone's watching and wants
Yes.
to help support, how can I get involved and help support? So what can someone do?
Oh goodness, we can. Oh, there's so many things.
buy a lottery ticket for one and give us when you win. Give us all that extra.
There's
there.
financial
Yeah.
support. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's one.
Definitely financial support. That, you know, we're grassroots.
Yep.
It's literally just her and I who are managing our
I'm
social
the CFO.
media.
Excuse me. I have a big title.
Big title.
Big title.
CFO, we interchange it.
And it snowballed for you guys.
Yes.
I mean, you guys
It
kind of
took-
started this, and then you saw so many people get involved that you're like, oh my gosh, we need to actually keep doing this.
Yes.
Every time we have an event, whether it's a pop-up just to get our brand out there and show like the positivity and letting people know that it's okay to be you because
Yeah.
there's only one you out there.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And embrace that.
Yeah.
So when we're out there, the amount of people that want to give us some information, that they're strangers, but they want to share their story. Some have admitted to being a bully back in the day.
Yes.
So that's happened a lot.
Sure.
So it's like for them to say how cool it is,
Yeah.
it's like they've turned, you know, they've
Yeah.
come around, and it's really cool.
That's a great message to
Yes,
be able to do
and
that.
it's healing. Like once you release that and you're able to talk about it and feel like you're in a safe place to
Right.
talk about it, that helps with the healing process and really starts to kind of where they're able to spread their wings a little bit, their wings get lifted, and then they're able to help and encourage others too. So that's why we say embrace individuality, because we're all different,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So and we all have individual, you know, likes and interests, but it doesn't matter whether you're somebody that is outgoing, you know, someone that's artistic or
There's a space for everyone.
there's a space
Exactly.
for everyone.
Exactly.
So
For
just
you.
embrace each other.
For sure. And,
yeah.
if you don't have to, you don't have to like everybody, but you
Right.
definitely don't have to bully people you
Right.
don't
Right.
like. I mean, it's unnecessary. I want to read your brand message because I think it's beautiful. You are enough. You are not alone, and this is a safe place to be like you. That's wonderful. So I love it. And I want to share like a statistic. This was impressive to me in a negative way, sadly. 70% of children on campus see bullying, and only 25% report it. So it's a significant amount of unreported bullying going on.
Yes.
And where we talk about the mental health effects lasting a little bit longer and the negative impact that has on someone moving forward. So like
Yes.
Avalia said, please reach out, talk to an adult. If you're not comfortable talking to your parents, you can reach out to these two awesome girls here, and they'll help you and help guide you along the way and how to get to a place of embracing you, be like you, and standing up and or addressing your bully at school.
Yes.
I do want to be able to touch on you guys had mentioned like where you grow. So you have community.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that, and then we're going to welcome another guest on to talk about her experience.
Sure, awesome. So, like when we go out to do different things in our community to, share about Be Like You, what we're about. We do educational workshops.
Okay.
Some are more intimate on a focus group. And then we also do events too with our community, collaborations as well.
Okay.
And then, was there anything that I'm forgetting with the?
Well, you probably work with the local police.
We did with
yes.
the local sheriffs in Encinitas. They are on board, and they said that they are proud about supporting our cause because
That's wonderful.
It has to do with the whole community, and they're so great. I mean, there's probably some photos that we can show you guys, but they were so cool. And I don't want anyone to think like, oh, law enforcement, they're kind of intimidated, but they were so warm and welcoming. And so to have that support from them is amazing.
Well,
because it doesn't happen all the time.
No, I'm sure.
they
And they
have so
probably
many
know
people.
they can predict a
Yes.
little bit. They can see 10 steps ahead of where this is really going to impact
Right.
a community and a society. And they want to be proactive and nipping this in the bud, like you said. as well.
Because they say it's a big problem.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move to our wonderful new 3 guests here we have. But I'm first going to start with Diane. And Diane, I'm going to try your name, Tchaikovsky. Did I get that? Oh, yes. Okay, that was good.
Good job.
Thank you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences with Be Like You and your Girl Scout troop, right?
Sure.
Is that how it started? Okay.
Be Like You came out and spoke with my girls and really had a impactful message in that these 2 women, they want to change the world, and they're not doing it in a way that is complaining about the world. They're actually going out and taking action, and that's everything. It's everything to a young girl or a young boy to be able to express that you are enough. You are enough in who you are. You're enough in how you were made, and whatever that is, whether it be a scientist, an artist, a Girl Scout, you are enough. And I love the message that was brought out in my troop. I love how the girls received it, how they were inspired and encouraged. Specifically the story that Fetu tells about what she went through, her horrific story as a young girl, and then carrying that with her today. I think that says a lot about how the effects of bullying, if you don't nip it in the bud right away.
Right. And what are the age group of your Girl Scout troop that they came to speak to?
They are actually ambassadors, and so we've had them all the way from kindergarten on up. So they're actually 9th graders and 10th graders right now. So when you guys spoke with them, they were last year.
Yeah.
And so it's a really great age group because they're receptive to what is out there. They're receptive to listening to people that have experienced these things.
These things, yeah. And I think what's important too is if you can speak to someone in one of these Girl Scout troops, let's say, and they see bullying on campus, and they now can step up and stop it, right? It's not just that they're getting bullied, it's actually preventing it and educating kids to feel empowered to actually stop someone who's doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to segue into my other guest here, Brian and Josh. Josh, you have a similar experience with what I kind of just mentioned, right? You want to tell us a little bit about your experience at school?
Yeah, so there are these 2 kids in my school, and I believe that they have special needs.
Okay.
And there's this other one kid who kept egging on them and pushing and pushing and pushing, until it's been happening for months and a while, and then I suddenly had enough. Like I was done through, and so he called me out to a, I was like, they can't, like, stop taking your anger out on them, take it out on me instead. And then he was like, okay, let's do a little meet down here, or then I said, let's go here, and
So you basically
Yes.
Change the location.
So
I
change the
know.
location on them. Okay, so let me ask you this. So it sounds like you knew these kids from before? You'd been kind of friends with them, helped them around school.
Yeah.
They sound like wonderful kids, right? And you were helpful,
Yeah.
I think, helping one of them get into his locker and
Yeah.
doing different things like that. Very cool of you to help. And one guy just saw maybe some vulnerable kids and started teasing, picking, and that escalated to bullying these kids.
Yeah.
And you said, enough is enough. If you're going to pick on someone, pick on me because I can deal with it. Don't pick on my friends that have special needs. It's not cool.
Yeah.
And so then he challenged you, and you guys picked a Rumble date. Okay. And that probably, Brian, you want to jump in here? I'm sure that wasn't, you get the call from the principal, right?
Yeah, well, it was one of it was definitely a surprise because, we're talking about communicating with your children or family when you hear about a situation like bullying or even other sensitive topics. And this is one that we weren't talking about at home. And what was interesting is we didn't know that for the whole school year that Joshua had befriended these two children with special needs and was working with them and helping them, spending time out of his day at school in light of all other things going on. He was helping them to get through the day
Very cool.
to his own. That we didn't know that, which was really nice to hear.
For
What
sure.
we didn't, what was the surprise was that he had been in a fight, and when we got that call that he'd been in this fight, we ran down to the school to hear what was going on. It was the first we'd ever heard about this bully and these two other vulnerable kids, And as a parent, you wanna. Well, let's just say that we couldn't have been more proud of the event that he put himself into, being able to stand up for himself. But we were obviously concerned, of course, for the children that were being bullied, how the school was handling it throughout. You'd mentioned the issues that sometimes schools don't want to deal with bullying. We have another child who's been the victim of some pretty bad cyberbullying, and you don't have enough people who are willing to stand up for themselves or for another child.
Or like in
well.
Josh, like to stand up for someone else. It takes a lot of courage, a lot
Yes.
of bravery to do that.
Totally.
And that's really awesome that you did. I think through outreach, like a Be Like You and talking to kids, and do you think it would be helpful if like Be Like You came and spoke to your school? Don't you think that?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so, because then you'll get
Yes.
more Joshes and less
I
of the
know.
bullies.
Right.
Yes.
More strong guys that'll stand
Gotta
up.
bring
Yep,
him
he's
along
an
with
upstander.
us. Yes, so that's what we would say in bully education is that Josh is an upstander. He's not just bystanding
Oh,
and watching the bullying going on. He's an upstander because he saw it and then he stood up.
that's awesome.
Yes.
That's a great adjective to be, right?
I
Or word.
know,
I want to be an
yes.
upstander too.
Yes.
And
I'm
I don't
very
know if I
proud.
can add the statistics to that because in the percentage, if you stop something happening within like the first 30 seconds, it cuts that situation down almost 50%.
Wow.
So I mean,
Yes.
if you don't, then it's going to continue, right? So
Right.
by someone intervening, it totally can end that situation occurring again.
Brian, do you see that there's room in schools, you mentioned you have another child as well, for some kind of outreach program, prevention? What do you suggest as a parent? What could schools start doing or anything to help with Be Like You?
In our case, we found that the schools weren't willing to uphold their own policies regarding cyberbullying or bullying on their own. What we surmised was that there must be a serious legal element to them actually intervening and punishing a child when
Consequences.
the consequences should be public and it should be dealt with immediately. I mean, we have to teach children not to do bad things,
Right.
and yet the schools, and at least in our case, and we were ashamed of our schools, we pulled our children out of their school system as well and moved to a totally different district because they weren't willing to just follow their own rules that are printed on their own website.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was it's really disgusting because, you know, in our home we teach compassion. We teach obviously all the things that would get a 13-year-old to put himself in harm's way over somebody else.
Right.
We teach that. That's in our blood,
Right.
and it will always be, and that's what makes this a good kid here. But the parents of bullies, we've seen, are, whether it be they're ashamed or whether they don't want the liability because it is a litigious, you know, society.
Sure.
They're actually trying to defend their child from being penalized or being punished
Right.
because they don't want that on their record. So therefore, they're actually protecting their own bad child
Right.
from what we all should have happen is if you do something wrong,
There's a consequence.
there's a
There's a
consequence. And in our case with Josh, and obviously the other situation with our other son, we wanted nothing more than for the school to stand behind the policies that are there to protect bullying and make the children apologize.
Right.
Because when you apologize, then that sends a message to other people that there's an admission of wrong,
Right.
and maybe I won't want to be that guy.
The humiliation of having to do that too.
apologize.
It makes you. I had to do that as a kid.
Yeah, it's not
Not
easy.
for bullying, but for lying
Sure,
to
for
my
other-
dad, and he
yeah.
dragged me over to the parents, and I had to say sorry to them for lying for my friend that snuck out.
Oh.
But a totally different
still, but it
situation.
changes it.
Oh my gosh, it was that humiliation. I never did it again.
Right.
Like it just, it's true. That's a good point, Brian. Like they need to be held accountable for an action that they've done.
Right.
But and it starts in the home. So we raise,
Right,
we all
right, right.
raise our children,
Yes.
and we when you're talking to your kids and you hear what they're doing, did you really say that to that kid? And it's a matter of you pulling your child aside and teaching them a lesson in your home, and then making sure that they go and apologize or address the situation. And unfortunately, in today's society, that's not happening.
It's not.
Because nobody wants to be accountable to anything.
Right.
Right.
So
What do
you
you
know.
what do you guys feel about this as parents? Do you guys check up on your kids' social media accounts? Are you monitoring it? It's like a whole other job. I would
It
think.
is, and I told my kids that because my kids, the same thing as what Brian's saying. Like I raise my girls, and I know Diane's like this because she's a great role model too as a parent.
Yeah.
We do, like we're raised with a lot of family values and morals, and I've taught my girls, you got to be honest, be kind, help others. I remember Genevieve when she was, I used her name, she's not even here, but she was helping some of the special needs kids, and she used to get teased all the time when she would be helping out with that class, them and the students. So they would just tease her just for that. And she's like, Mom, they just want to have friends.
Yeah.
They want to be like everybody else.
Right.
And so it's like you're teaching your kids to do the right thing. I go, you're doing the right thing. But I've also told my kids, like, I have your back, but you have to be honest. If you've done something, you've got to be responsible for that
sure.
too.
And there's this, confidence you can raise and do the best you can, but sometimes that comes from within. And it sounds like, Brian, in your guys' household, you guys definitely raised a young, confident young man here, because to stand up and stand up, to help someone else that's in need, one, and then to put your own, face and body in harm's way, technically, right? Because he was probably going to get physical. It was ended up getting physical. So, and that's unfortunate. So I know you got probably suspended for this, as well as the other kid as well, right? And I think in those situations, it's one. I don't know if suspension really cures it. It's a quick punishment. But what comes after? There should be some mediation. There should be some kids sitting down and talking it out, ideally with parents there, and unlike your
volunteering with us.
situation, with staff.
You know what I mean? Volunteering on something that's creating a positive impact in the community, like reverse that. Like, not just like the suspension. I mean, great, they lose a day. They'd probably love losing a day,
I mean,
right?
yeah, I would have. It's like, let's
me
go home and
too.
play like Nintendo. Oh my God,
But
we
have
don't even
them
know what that is
volunteer
probably.
somewhere.
I'm
That's
so-
where they're giving
Oh, he
back.
knows.
Okay. But that would that's actually a great quote
so-
unquote punishment. Is like now you have to go volunteer with an anti-bully prevention,
Yes.
and you
Or
would take
just
these
another
kids.
teaching some kindness, like
Yeah.
reading to little kids, like where you're giving back to other kids or students, and
It's great.
I mean,
That are especially like ones that are in need.
Yeah.
Ones that are in
of
need, because
course.
bullying is a learned behavior. So the positive to that is that it is fixable.
Right, because
You
it can be
know,
unlearned,
Yes,
untaught.
yeah. So the more that we get out there and we're able to educate and share our stories firsthand, that gives a sense of, you know, this is a safe place.
Right.
You know, we're not just coming in for a lecture
Right.
or anything. Yeah.
I wouldn't, if you guys came in, I wouldn't, and you know, as a kid, I wouldn't feel intimidated or like I was getting lectured. You guys are very warm and welcoming. Your message is wonderful. Remember, we have all this cool merchandise here, so you can sign up on NadiaOnTheRun.com and click join us, and the first 5 of you will get some of the swag. So tell us about some of your events that are coming up. I'm
Yes.
sure people are going to want to, you know, follow you guys at Be Like You campaign, right?
Yes.
On your, that's your social, that's your Instagram handle.
Yes.
And tell us where they can come find you in person and join this great cause.
So yeah, they can contact us via phone. We are going to be, so for via phone, let me
Okay,
share
yeah,
the
share the number, please.
858-220-3820.
Okay,
Okay, and then belikeyou.org, that's our website.
okay.
And our upcoming events, because it's Bully Prevention Month, we want to be active out there in our community. So we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary.
Yay,
I know.
congratulations.
1-year anniversary, and that's going to be on October 6th in Retail Therapy Boutique.
Okay,
They were the first ones who were on board with us and helped us launch our first kickoff event. So they're going to be helping us to celebrate our annual event on October 6th. And so throughout the month of October, they are going to be donating a certain percentage of proceeds
wow.
throughout the month back to Be Like You.
Oh, so you get to shop and it's for a good cause.
Yeah,
Sign me
shop
up.
for a
I'm done.
cause.
Shop for a cause.
Yes, so we'll have to have you come over and
No
I'll
problem.
even do a style session for
Okay.
you. Yes.
Take it. Done.
Yeah, so that's October 6th.
Okay.
Retail Therapy Boutique in Carlsbad Village. And then we are going to be speaking over at the Girl Scout Troop, 1788, right?
That's awesome.
Yes.
1988, and our entire Encinitas service unit. So
Oh, wow, that's
we
great.
could very likely have anywhere from 40 to 50 girls.
Yes.
And I know it's going to be a very inspiring day for all these girls. So we're
That is
very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yes,
Wonderful.
it's been amazing when we do get to go out and speak to the youth, because it inspires us
Sure.
even more. And I usually am in tears. Then some of the kids, we've experienced that too, where if it's not a focus group, sometimes they're hesitant to, share or admit, like,
Right.
and they'll pull us aside and say, hey, can I talk to you after? And
when we spoke with at one of the elementary schools, I was impressed by how many of the students wanted to share their story.
Oh, that's great.
Like it was over 50%
wow.
were raising their
Yeah.
hand, and we
Raising
couldn't
their
even. We didn't have our time got cut, and we were like,
You
we
need to go
couldn't
back.
listen to all
Yeah.
their stories. But it's amazing. So they all want to share and ask
Right.
what they can do, and
Well,
it was
and-
heartbreaking too. at
Of
the same
course,
time,
and
you
in
know?
any kind of support type group or therapy or anything, knowing that you're not alone in experiencing these issues and seeing this on campus and learning from others what maybe is a good thing to do, maybe not handling something a certain way. You kind of
Yes.
learn from others and you share your experiences. I think that's wonderful. So teachers out there listening and watching, contact these girls and get the Be Like You campaign out to your campus as soon as possible. Sounds like it's helped a lot of people here. We've got testimony here, and I want to thank you all so much for taking the time, sharing your stories, and being so brave.
I
Really appreciate that. And if you or a loved one at home is going through being bullied, I want to share a couple phone numbers here. You can reach out to the local Sheriff Crime Prevention Department. That phone number is 760-966-3500. That's 760-966-3500. And I want to also mention the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I know we've talked about a lot of sensitive topics, and if you're not comfortable discussing things with an adult at home, you've got these great girls here, but you also have help on this hotline, and that phone number is 1-800-273-8255. So it's 273-8255. You guys have all shared so much today, and I appreciate it. I'm so thankful and honored, one, that I get to interview such special and amazing people, but also that I have this platform to bring this out, in front of people and get it out there. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to my sponsors who allow for me to meet fun people in San Diego and share it. So that's 5 Star Escrow and First American Title. Thank you guys so much for your support, and continue to be brave and share your message, you and all of you as well.
Yes,
Thank you all so
Thank
much
you.
for coming.
Thank
Remember, we've got this
you.
great swag here for anyone who's interested, and
Yes.
sign up and we'll get it over to you. And thank you guys as well at Be Like You campaign.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
we'll be
us.
seeing you October 6th, and
Yes.
hopefully all through social media as well,
Yes.
and using social media for a positive
For a
impact.
positive impact.
I love
Yes.
it.
Oh, and then we're
So-
going to be having a fashion show fundraiser in January.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
so
so
that's
follow
good.
at Be Like You campaign. You
Yes.
guys are going to post
We're-
all
yep,
of this
we're
there.
Gonna have all that
Yes.
posted.
And this will be live. We'll continue to check the feed for questions later. And we want to say thank you. And I'm Nadia Colucci. Thanks again. Remember to stay on the go, San Diego, with Nadia on the Run.